Outlaw Sports is brought to you by Molson Canadian, made from Canada, and Rocky Mountain Barbecue, Alberta barbecue cuisine at its best. Quickly, we have to talk about the Saskatchewan Rough Rider situation. Greg Marshall and Doug Barry get the axe. Grant, I know the players are pretty ecstatic about that, but anytime, I guess, when you lose a locker room, yeah, management is always concerned. But when you let the team dictate what's going on, I think that could even be a bigger concern. I'm not saying it wasn't the right move, but I don't think they gave the guy enough time.
No, if he's a good young talent, I like what Greg Marshall said, that I'll be back.
Yeah.
Kind of like MacArthur in the Pacific and during the war, I will return.
And Arnold Schwarzenegger.
That's right. Big names.
In history.
So I think they made a short-term gain at the expense of long-term gain. If Greg Marshall is going to be a good coach, do you think he will be someday? I don't know.
Well, I think he's a hell of a coordinator, but he might be one of these guys, Grant,
who can't be the head coach.
Can't be the head coach. Now, I know the players didn't respond to him, and talking to different guys down in Regina, they thought they were getting a different kind of guy. Ken Miller did everything for these players. They would go through a wall through this guy. He deflected all the criticism from the media. He would take the blame. He would take the spotlight off of them. Where I think Marshall exploded a little more. It was a little more gruff and stern, and you saw it on the sidelines. And I think the players just didn't rally around this guy.
But so first of all, I think if he is going to be a good head coach, they let him go too soon. But I agree with you. I think he might be a good coordinator, because head coaches have to be good babysitters, psychologists, motivators. I don't know if he did that. But here's my concern, is that if this is the way the Riders are going to dictate how it's going to be, why did they hire him in the first place? Upper management, I think, has to take a lot of body blows here and probably should take the fall a little bit more, because why did they hire him if they thought he was going to be good? Do the Riders have enough good players, though?
No. No, they don't.
So why give up on a potential good head coach who might be good in a year or two when the team can maybe attract better players? So that's my concern. That's a short-term gain at the expense of long-term. I
think it's the sacrificial lamb could have been made in Barrie because there wasn't a relationship between him and Durant. Other than that, boy, they were screaming for a change, and they love the change. The players love it. The fans love it. Ken Miller, I don't know. I don't think it's a win-win situation for him.
I think the optics for the short term, though, Mike, and I guess the CFL tends to be a short-term league where you can win immediately. They can. I mean, Miller did say, don't laugh, we could make it to the Grey Cup this year. It's possible. I mean, in the CFL, that is, they could make the playoffs. So the optics of this whole thing to the fans, if they can turn it around quickly, they could do some damage for the short term.
Do you think Global will ever bring back you, me, and Toth to do a sports show ever again?
No.
There's your chance of them winning the Grey Cup.
That's slim? That's slim?
That's slim.
But how many times have you seen a team in the CFL, though, Mike, look terrible?
Last year with Wally Bono. And
weren't they just only a few points away from making the West Final?
Oh, sure, and that's the whole thing here, which is a double standard. Why not fire a guy like Wally with the same record and give up on a guy like Marshall?
Argos, Jim Barker. Why not give up on Jim Barker?
Right.
Just because they won that game against Saskatchewan.
They were brutal.
They were brutal.
Saskatchewan should have won it. But as one commentator in Regina said, thank heavens they didn't win it, because it would have been a false confidence. And they would have rallied around that.
So did the Riders management make the mistake by hiring Greg Marshall? Or had they made the mistake? It was Ken
Miller's call. It was Ken Miller's call.
But did they make their big mistake by not recruiting better after winning the Grey Cup and losing player after player, year after year? That's probably where the big problem is.
Yeah, and I agree with you. I think Taman didn't make the right. When he knew all these guys were going, he didn't stock the pond like he should have.
And it's amazing that we in the CFL, or that we who cover the CFL, can talk so much about the Riders' downfall, because a lot of teams have this, but when the Riders have it, it's bigger. It seems bigger than anything, and probably affects the CFL more than any other team.
It does. It does, Grant.
Attendance-wise, ratings-wise, and interest-wise. I mean, the Riders are getting pretty cocky. Rider fans are getting cocky now. They know they are the CFL, and they are the straw that stirs the CFL. And when they falter, We all feel it, Mike. We all feel it.
Get used to it for a year, baby.
Hi, I'm Henry Burris. I love Calgary, and I'm proud to call this place home. While Calgary has an interesting history, there aren't a lot of buildings that remain since the early days. And some of those that are left are in pretty bad shape.
Now we can revitalize this area with the use of robotic parking. It's efficient, it's accessible, and it's safe. The best part is that it's easy to use. For more information and a chance to invest with us, visit 7th Avenue Autopark.com.
Ian Busby of the Calgary Sun joins us. First of all, let's talk about the Saskatchewan Rough Riders situation. They give the axe to Greg Marshall and to Doug Barry. And the big question is, while the players may be ecstatic, does it make them a better football club? I don't think it does. I don't think you think it does.
Well, the thing is, you'd have to hop back in your time machine and undo some of the things that have happened with the Rough Riders over the last couple of years to go back. I don't know if Greg Marshall's a good coach or not. 8 games is not enough. There's just simply not enough tenure here to see if this was going to work out or not, or whether Greg Marshall was the man for the job. I know that they wanted a change in Saskatchewan. I can't believe it was head coach and offensive coordinator. That's a huge change, but I don't think it's going to make a difference. Ken Miller stick comes down from up above, and now all the talk in Saskatchewan was who was actually in charge. Was Ken Miller still in charge? Was he still trying to run the show without having the head coach title? But now he's got it, so it's his bed to make for the rest of the year. I can't see them. I think this is a 3-win football team this year, and they're what, 2-8 for the rest of the year?
Yeah. See, and that's the thing that I just didn't get. I mean, you got off to a bad start. You have to look at the injuries and the player personnel that you didn't have, and then you look at, okay, there is a rift going on between Barry and Durant. You can see it on the sidelines. You can see it in the body language. You see when this guy, I've seen it a number of times where he just rolls his eyes when he doesn't realize the camera's on him after a conversation with Barry. So maybe that's what you do. You get rid of him and you move on. Give this guy a chance. Now I'm going to ask you this question. What the hell's Ken Miller thinking taking this position over? Because I don't think it's a win situation for him.
Well, the weird thing was that Ken Miller said that he wasn't healthy at the end of last year and he couldn't do the job anymore. Well, he's gotten so much better in the last 7-8 months of not having that pressure, probably of the day-to-day grind of a CFL football team. The question was asked to him, who's the offensive coordinator? Well, that's a good question. They don't really have one. Steve Barato is going to step up with the rest of the staff. That just doesn't seem like a good situation. I don't know which direction they go as a football team right now. They've got bad personnel. Receivers are hurt, as you said, or not there, as Andy Fantuz may come back and help the situation. But if that's what they're thinking, they got running backs hurt, their offensive line is old and slow. It's a bad team, and it's not going to get any better this year. They're going to have to do the overall. The guy they should have fired and changed up is Brendan Taman. Yeah. But you can't undo the moves that he's already made by firing him, and it doesn't shake up the team at all because the team's just going to say, well, they fired the GM. How is that my fault? How is that going to change anything, the dynamic on the field? They still think that they're a contender, which is quite hilarious, really.
I think if you did a poll right now in Saskatchewan about Eric Tillman, I think you would find an overwhelming support list for him. Like, I'm thinking about 90%, because you know what? This guy, no matter what you think of the guy, this guy's a brilliant, brilliant football guy. He can find talent. He can do that. He had a good thing going there. To me, when he left, it was the start of the end for them. I just don't think they've restocked, and you can't say enough about that, can you? Being ready for it. I mean, again, you can go over and over. You know, Coke being gone and not probably back till after the Winnipeg game, and Bags being hurt. Yeah, I don't think even with those guys back that it's enough to revive the season.
Well, and I don't think any other coach would have had any more success than one or two wins at this point in the year. So were they going to give up on this guy no matter what? When Ken Miller got healthy enough to come back and be the coach, was that going to be the plan? Doesn't seem like there was a plan there. And that's the crazy thing. You mentioned all the injuries. That it toppled up, but the pipeline wasn't filled with talent. You look at some of the guys they brought in, Alexander Gauthier, Dario Romero, these guys are over 30, and they're on the downslide of their career. They're hoping those guys are going to give them an influx of youth and youthful exuberance. It's not going to happen.